Ready, up. Gun speed has got to remain the same.
Hello and welcome back to the X-Ring. So what we're going to do is finish up the portion of the Surefire Turbo Series of lights. You guys know that last week I covered the X300 Turbo, which was an awesome light. I really like the penetration with the high candelas, and this is going to be my new favorite just because of where I live. I live out in the middle of nowhere, live out in the woods, and I want to be able to see for a pretty good distance. So there's going to be a lot of footage following this. I'm going to make this really short and sweet. This right here is the Surefire Turbo. This is the M640. And one of the things about it is this is a dual fuel system. Now, a lot of you guys are familiar with that. For those that are not, I'm going to go ahead and explain it. So basically, you have this rechargeable battery pack. Now, this rechargeable replaces two of the 123s, the 123As. So you can use this on the M640, and it does have a lot more power and a lot more distance, if you will, a lot more runtime as well, in place of two of these. So just real quick about the flashlight, like I said, because some of you guys are here just for that information, and there's some training at the end, and I'm going to cover that before we skip over to it. But on this light setup here, what you're going to get with the M640, the DFT Pro, you're going to get an M-LOK mount and a Picatinny mount. So it should work well for you. I've just misplaced the one that wasn't tan. That's why this one's tan. But it'll come in whichever color you choose. It will not come with the tail cap switch like this. You will have to purchase that. You can get those from a lot of different Surefire dealers. What they claim is with the dual fuel system, you're going to get 700 lumens with this battery and 100,000 Candela. That's quite a bit. Now, if you're using the 123As, you're going to have about 600 lumens and about 90,000 Candela. Now, they claim about 600 meters using that light. And I know a lot of you guys are saying that's pretty far-fetched. What we're able to do is using the old Surefire Scout, which isn't that old, it's the current one right now, we were able to see just beyond 100 meters. Okay, it wasn't much more than that. On like a half-size IPSC and even a full-size steel, you could not see at 200. The beam actually just disappears. I do have some footage at the end, and it looks like I'm aiming low, but that's actually aiming directly at the target. You just can't see it. So with the higher candelas, we were able to hit targets out at 100, 200, 12-inch steels at 300, 400-yard steel man steels, and then you can actually see 500. So I don't see the 600 meters, even though it can get to that 500 meter range. And just remember, just because you can see it doesn't mean you can shoot it. If you're running a red dot or something like that, that's going to be a tough shot, and it's very tough to see at those distances when it is pitch black at night. However, I will tell you, it is my #1 choice. And before you guys comment, you know, about the cloud defense and the mod lights, I don't have any personal experience with those. However, this offering from Surefire on the Scout light, the Turbo, that should be out in the next month. By the time you guys see this right after SHOT Show, they should be hitting the dealers. The X300 Turbos are already available. They are tough to find, but they are great lights, and coming from a company like Surefire, you don't have to worry about anything, and you've got that lifetime warranty. So enough said about that. I will put up the cheat sheet here so you guys can see it, and you can read the specifics on the actual lights themselves. Now, with regards to the training, Kyle is an unbelievable instructor, got me really thinking outside of the box. Some of the stuff I'm going to share with you guys is not new, but you might not have seen it before. I know in all my years with law enforcement and going to multiple trainings out at Blackwater and everywhere else, I had never seen some of these techniques. Now, whether they work for you or not, just keep an open mind about it. Doesn't mean you have to use them. It's just a different way of giving you information, and you do with it what you will. Some of the techniques definitely have their place. You know, I've never ran a vertical grip before, but more on that when you watch the video. probably coming back at you from SHOT Show. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great week. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good one. All right, so talking about the Surefire, the Turbo series of lights, we have to think about working in and around a vehicle. At 80 yards away, I have a half-size IPSC. And one of the things we learned in the school was how you can use a vertical grip. Now, I've never used vertical grips before. I've never been a big fan of them. And the reason for that is because if you do get in close quarters with someone and the use of a rifle is not justified, this gives them a lot of leverage to pull off of. If you've ever done any type of rifle retention, giving them a vertical grip does give them a little bit of an advantage. Now, of course, you could poke them, but they still can grab right in this area, and that's a lot of leverage. Now, either way you set up your light, you want to make sure that you have some type of switch at the top 12 o'clock position. That way we can go strong hand, support hand, it doesn't matter, we can still actuate the light. The only problem with this tap system is because I have it tethered into the PEC, I don't have a constant on. But Surefire's already thought that through, and on the back side of the switch here, of the actual tail cap, you do have a constant on that you can actuate here. Now, the problem is it's great when you're actuating it with the right hand, but now if you're with the left hand, you are gonna have to kind of train yourself to reach it, and you can still reach it from both sides. But one of the things that was really cool was a way that you can incorporate a vertical grip into some of your shooting. So when we shoot over there at that 100-yard steel, and I do have a camera going down range, we're gonna have to roll this rifle over to be able to clear this truck. And I know it looks like the truck has a lot of ground clearance, but the problem is the way that it's in the dirt, you actually don't. I only have a couple of inches. So I'm gonna have to roll this rifle one way or the other, roll it left or roll it right. Guys, one thing to keep in mind is whichever way you roll a rifle, you're gonna have to compensate for that. If you're shooting at that 100-yard steel and we roll the rifle to the right, now the bullet is going to go to the right and lower, okay? So I know that might not make a whole lot of sense, but the more we roll it over, the more that bullet's going to go to the right. Because remember, when you fire, it's going to cross your line of sight, but now it's not crossing it like you had your zero here. Now gravity's influencing that bullet from a different side. In this case, it's going to be on the right side. So if you don't compensate for that, aiming at that target, if I roll this over 90 and I aim at that target, you will miss. And I'll tell you where you're going to miss. You're going to miss low right. So you need to aim at the top left shoulder. And what that's going to do is, remember, the way you roll it, it's going to go to that direction and a little bit lower. Conversely, if we're on this side shooting off a rollover left, we're going to have to aim on the right shoulder. Okay, that'll make sense here in just a second. So I'll give you some demos of that. Let me try to zoom in and see what this looks like. All right, so we're going to try this in a little bit closer. We've got our body behind the wheel, so we've afforded ourselves some cover. Let's say you had to be back here, let's say your buddy's up front or whatever. If you needed to shoot from here, what they taught us before was just taking your hand, putting it flat, and then basically rolling down. You don't have to have this in the shoulder pocket, but you don't have any support on this. You see that? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get in position and I'm going to shoot this aiming top left. And that's an impact. One of the things Kyle showed us was basically using that vertical grip, putting your arm down and hooking. And you can pull into you. Guys, it is so stable. I don't know if you can see this. I'm sure you can. But now all I've got to do is from this position, I can actually shoot very quickly. All right, so working on the other side, you're going to be shooting your weak hand, but you can still use this to pull into your arm. And so I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm underneath it. I'm going to use my left eye and we have our impacts. You say, well, why are you telling us all this when you're talking about a light? Remember, if you have a top-mounted light that's not a constant on, I can't illuminate that target if I have to hold this. So you do need a constant on. So in this position, let me go ahead and work my way around. So in this position, if I'm going to make the shot, I can go to that constant on. I'm going to go ahead and flash it like that so you guys can see it. So literally what this is going to look like is you'd have to get ready to hit your constant on because you want to control your light. We would turn it on, hook, try to use your cover a little bit better and get that light off. Now from that end, all you're gonna see is that light for just a moment because we're not gonna be able to hit on this that easily. Anytime you're working around the car, just remember, come around, light, shoot, off. So that's a really cool feature. Here's something else you can do as well. This one's pretty unique. Basically, if you have a position like this, where you can utilize your leg will, I'm trying not to sit on my microphone, guys, give me just a moment. So let's say I wanted a position like this behind the vehicle. As long as I have something vertical that I can hook on, and this is a pretty good position. I'm not giving away hardly anything. I want to make sure I don't shoot my other tire out, but I could make hits just like that. Another technique that I've been taught in the past was you can actually put your feet here, and then now you can roll right, you can actually roll left, and all these are shots that can be made pretty easily, but it protects the center torso with the rotors. So these are some pretty cool techniques that I figured I'd share with you guys. Let me show you another one. So this is one of the reasons why I've never used vertical grips. And the reason was, when you're shooting over a vehicle like this, you have to come in this far, unless you're gonna elevate it. And the problem with this is I will skip it off the hood. I'll actually put a hole through my brand new mat here. So yeah, we can do this, but now our head is very exposed to the threat. So one of the things that Kyle taught us, and this is nothing new, but it might be new for some of you folks, is you can actually roll the rifle over, get your head down like this, and then basically, as long as it's rolled over, your muzzle is going to be higher than the target. It's actually pretty simple to do, and you can get as low as you want. Like I said, I'm just being extra careful because it's my vehicle, but I'm rolling over left. I'm going to hold top right shoulder, impact, impact. And then I can get out of harm's way pretty quickly. Let me give you a different perspective of that. All right, conventional way of popping up. I'm going to skip one off the hood. I've got to get high enough. This is the only way I can get high enough to hit that steel. The other way to do it is down into here, but I'm going to skip it off the hood. Okay, so for this one here, what we're going to do is we're going to pop up, roll the rifle a little bit more than 90. You can pop your head up here and back down. So it does work really well. And remember, you would incorporate that with a flashlight as well. But I'm trying to show you guys this during the day rather than at night, so it makes a lot more sense to you. All right, so this is a good indication of how dark it is. We're waiting about another 15 minutes before it gets really dark out here, but it's very hard to make out targets. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna pan this around so you can see the targets over here. And you can see how that camera is really starting to bring light in quite a bit, but that's the range there with the 100, 200, 300, and 400 yard targets. I'm gonna go ahead and leave it there, and then we'll see what kind of visibility we get with the Surefire Turbo series of lights. All right, so it's almost pitch black out here. The 100 yard target is in that direction over there. There's no way for you to possibly do it without having some type of light source. So still continuing on with the Surefire X300, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna turn this light off, and then I'll show you the illumination. We'll see if you can see it in the camera lens itself, and we'll see if we can make some hits at 100 yards. So first target is at 100 yards, is right over here. All right, guys, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to just scan with this light. Now, this is the X300 pistol light, the turbo, and I want you to see this, all right? So there is the turbo, and there's the target right there. You guys see that? And so I would be able to identify a target. Let's go ahead and see if we can get a round on that target. And here we go. All right, so definitely doable. Let me get this light back on. I learned a lot about filming the other night and that I have to actually get a light source on a little brighter so you guys can see me. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna switch over to the other pistol, which would be equivalent to the non-turbo light. Let's see what a difference that beam pattern makes, then we'll compare them at distance. All right, here we go. Same target, 100 yards, X30. It's a broad pattern, and it does illuminate the whole field. You can see it just kind of dies off, especially in the camera at about 75 yards. Right, on the left, and both. All right, guys, so directly behind me, about right there, is a 100-yard target. It is the half-side steel that you just saw a moment ago. So what I want to do is I'm going to hit it with this Surefire Scout non-turbo first, and we'll see if we can see a difference or see if you can actually spot it, and then we'll check it out with the Turbo Series. All right, so you guys are seeing what I'm seeing. Here we go with the first light. I'm going to start it low into the ground, and then we're going to slowly pick it up and go towards the target. I'm actually aiming dead center of the target right now with this light. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Non-turbo. All right, for the next one, this one is weapon mounted. Here we go. This is the Turbo Series, specifically the M640. That's the ground. And then now we're on that target. I don't know if you guys can see that target. I can see it plain as day. All right, guys, Turbo Series. Let's see if we can get an impact on the target at 100 yards standing. Here we go. Impact, no problem. Now, let's see if we can swing over to the 200 and see if you guys can see that. So that's the 100-yard target. Now I'm going to have to move the camera slightly. We're going to pan over here to the 200, which is there. Now, they are orange, but I can actually make those targets out. Let's see if I can get an impact at 200 standing on the man steel. That's an impact. All right, so far pretty darn impressive because I can see those targets, otherwise I wouldn't be able to hit them. Let's see if I can make one at 300. I don't know, because remember, it's only a 12-inch diamond, and I don't even know if this thing will reach that far, but I do want to see what that outer limit is. However, remember, you need to be able to identify that target. This is not something I'd ever recommend if you don't know what that target is. All right, so we're going to turn the light off. And I am going to pan over to 300. Man, I can barely make it out, but I can make it out. So here we go. Let's see if we can do it at 300. All right, right there somewhere. And light, and wow, that's hard to see, but I can see it. Now remember, this is a dot. I need to be on a perch.
That's a tough shot.
Let me go over to the rest and see if I can hit it off the rest. Yeah, I'll leave it on the target. 300, man, that's tough. This would be about the limits. Guys, if it were a human target or a man-sized target, it wouldn't be so bad, but this is tough. That's an impact, 300 yards on a 12-inch diamond. See if there's 400. Yeah, I can see 400. Actually, the man-sized steel at 400, I can see. Let's see if we can do this. Impact, 400 yards. 400 again. All right, so you guys probably saw that. I don't know, you might have been able to see or hear the report, but it was definitely doable at 400 yards on a full-size IPSC. 300 yards on a 12-inch was actually doable with the Scout Light. Now, the Scout Light non-turbo would not reach that far. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and show you this because you guys don't have a good representation. These are all fresh batteries. So we're going to go back to the 100. You guys see the 100? You can barely see it. It washes out. But now at 200, there is no way I can see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do them side by side so you guys can see this. We're going to go back to the 100. There's the old one. And here's the turbo. And that's with a can on there, so we're missing the right side. 200, I can definitely see orange. Let's see if you can see orange here. Here we go. We're going to switch it. Cannot see the orange. There is no way. As a matter of fact, let me turn on the turbo while this was on so that you can see the difference. Look at that. We're going to scan over to 300. Can't see anything. With the Scout, I can see 300 there. I can see 350. I can see 400. 400, not going to happen here. All I have is pitch black. Let's see if I can see the 500. 500 I can actually see. I could probably make an impact on that. I've got a couple rounds, let me try it. All right, so guys, I also want you to pay attention to the gunpowder that you're gonna see in front where it's gonna obscure your entire target. So here's 500. I think that was actually an impact. Go back to the 100. 200.